Hey crew, I've got the key to this 25 Porsche 911 GT3. And this week, we're gonna see what it's like to live with. Starting with the spacing in my driveway, which is 16 feet wide by 19 and a half feet long. I've got the 911 parked very close to the edge, sitting next to my BMW M2 CS, which is also very close to the edge. And with that spacing, there is plenty of room to walk between the vehicles, wheel a double wagon or stroller for our kiddos. The CS does have power folding door mirrors. The GT3 does not. Up here at the front, the GT3 is parked just back from the gutter, and that would prove an issue for clearance in one of two scenarios. One, if you didn't have the front axle lift equipped, which this vehicle does have, and the front end is raised up. Or two, if I didn't have the curb ramp set up here, but I would get the axle lift because you can't take curb ramps with you everywhere. And at the back, there is space to walk in front of the hedge on the path to my front door. To get in, there is not smart keyless entry, so you have to pull out the key fob and hit the unlock button to present the door handles. And opening that door, that's the first defined notch. It would be a tight squeeze. So I'll go 2. I've got the room. We'll go 3. And then get my leg into the cabin. Then I can either choose to swing my butt over into the seat or go to the sill and then, ducking my head, scoot on into the chair. And this car is low. And without a comfort access feature, at least as standard, the seats don't automatically move back. But because they are the standard seats, they're not the more aggressive carbon bucket chairs, so actually sliding into them isn't that difficult. And now closing up that door, good solid thud. Hey cabin crew, thanks for joining for this day in the life in the 25 911 GT3. In this video, I want to see what it's like to live with a track capable and in some ways track focused car as a daily driver. So let's fire it up, clutch in. There is that flat 6 come to life. Let's listen to the idle from outside the car. E-brake is on, yes. Yeah, that's pretty loud. It's trying to settle down, but at least for a few moments when you're first starting your day, if it's early in the morning, just expect that you might disturb your neighborhood. There we go, that's much better. And now I have magically acquired a cup of coffee from home, so I need to find a spot for this in the cabin along with all the other things I bring with me every day. Now, the cup holder would be right here, but if I take out the key, you can see that will not hold the coffee from spilling all over me or this cabin. So there is a hidden cup holder on the passenger side, which is great, but that's also kind of far away, especially from shifting gears. So you can do something else. I'm gonna close that up, and in the glove box, pull out the cup holder that can go in the same spot as this insert right here. So when I plug that in, put the coffee, and it is a secure hold. Coffee isn't going anywhere. There's another option here, and that is removing both of those, and that, I've actually test fitted this already, will hold my 32-ounce metal water bottle. But I actually like to leave this as the cup holder or as this insert because this can easily go in one of the 2 cavities where the rear seats are typically located. I also have my GoPro accessory case and my Racebox 0 to 60 timer back there. So let me put this one away here, and key fob is just probably gonna have to sit in my pocket. In the door pockets, there are 2 of them. I've got my sunglasses here because this is a felt-lined cubby, so it is gonna protect the lenses, and I've got my slimline wallet along with my Ray-Ban Meta sunglass case in the forward of the 2 holders. So yes, there are spots to put everything you need inside the GT3. Now let me throw on my seatbelt here, head into first gear. The e-brake has been released somehow, and I'm just gonna roll on forward over the ramp and turn the wheel and easily make it past my neighbor's basketball hoops. You can hear the rubbing on the inside front tire on my way out. And I almost forgot about my iPhone 17 Pro because it's out of sight, and that's how it works for me. Out of sight, out of mind. It is in the console on a wireless charging pad, and it's a pretty good sized pad, so if you've got a bigger phone, it should fit. Considering I already have my coffee, I'm not on my way to a coffee shop, but I didn't get breakfast, so I'm going to get a burrito. And on the way there, I can talk about just the around town ability of the GT3. If you do choose the manual, because there is the PDK option, That obviously means you were going to shift gears, and doing so in this car isn't that difficult. I mean, it's such a hardcore, aggressive-looking vehicle with that big wing, but it's kind of easy to drive. Yes, it is bumpy. In any of these settings, the car is just going to bounce around on the road surface. It's not exactly firm per se, but it does have the bounciness. The shifting of the 6-speed is just delightful though. The clutch take-up and release point is very clear, and with 502 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque, there's always enough to get you up to speed easily, and it's delivered in a linear way with that naturally aspirated flat 6. In fact, there's only one area where the GT3 with the manual is a little extra of a challenge, or at least something else you have to think about when you're maneuvering, and that's in a parking lot or at low speeds. I'll explain that very shortly. Despite the bounciness of the ride, given that the suspension isn't harsh, and with the seats being as comfortable as they are, it's actually a very pleasant way to get around town. And you do have the seat heating feature, so if it's very cold, you can warm yourself cozily while the dual zone climate does the rest. And I realized I missed my exit while I was talking to you, so we'll have to see about the turning radius with just 2 lanes here to use. Cranking that wheel and pivoting around in second gear. That turning circle is terrific. The rear wheel steering coming in clutch right there makes maneuvering this car just effortless. But now we have to hear from the horn. If someone is driving recklessly and you need to honk at them, what are they gonna hear? That's a unique horn sound. I actually quite like it. It's different, and yet it's powerful enough that they'll get the message. Back to the seats for a sec. I mentioned these are the standard chairs, and so they don't have a power slide forward or backward. There's a manual adjustment for that right here, but they do have a power raising and lowering and a power recline. So there are enough ways to adjust the seat to be comfortable for most drivers. And for me, with a long torso at 6 feet tall, I love that I still have headroom above. So if I wanted to don a helmet for track duty, oh, I've got a space up there, I could do that. And one more note on daily driving of this gearbox. In a non-track context where you wouldn't want to be heel-toe rev matching all the time, there is the auto blip feature, which is going to simulate the heel-toe function, just give a little blip of throttle to match those revs and have a smooth deceleration as you're downshifting. There is also the auto start-stop function, which in heavy traffic like this, where you're coming to a full stop and then starting again, if you didn't want to have the flat 6 turn off, come back on, turn off, come back on, you could easily switch off that system. And I like that it isn't buried in menus. You just hit the car and then you hit the checkbox. You know, better still, because that is actually a feature that turns itself on every time you power cycle the vehicle, if you wanted to more easily switch it off, you could program that into your favorites button right here. We interrupt this message for a little behind the scenes info. What is on that trailer right now, I guarantee, is either a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, because that's kind of the company that is commissioned for those deliveries, going to a customer or to media. One final daily driving note. Okay, 2 final daily driving notes. The steel brakes equipped to this car squeal like crazy, and it's only at certain speeds and only with certain brake pedal pressure. It's actually the light pedal pressure. If you go hard on them, they won't do that. But that's one thing to keep in mind. The second is something you're probably going to be aware of the moment you see the wing from the outside, but your visibility out the back is compromised somewhat by that. I mean, you can see things around the wing, like above and below it, but at certain elevations, it completely blocks the rear view. And you don't have blind spot monitoring in this car, but you do have reasonably good sized door mirrors and excellent visibility out through the glass. The pillars aren't overly thick. And out over the hood is no problem at all because of its aggressive slope. I can see the road right in front of me. And the time has finally come, raising the nose lift. You can do that at speeds up to 35 miles an hour, by the way. So you can plan carefully to make sure the front end is lifted. Anyway, I'm here at Nate's Corner for the best breakfast burritos in Orange County. And that does mean I need to park, and I am of course going to back it in. But now I can talk about the one other thing related to this car for daily driving, and that is just that the idle is pretty darn low. So typically with cars, I don't need to apply any throttle as I'm letting out the clutch and it won't stall. But in this one, I actually do have to blip it a fair bit so that I don't stall out on my way back into the space. You don't have a surround view camera. You do have parking sensors though, and trajectory lines with the backup view. So parking isn't too big of a deal. here we are. Oh, I am excited for this. Look at this. I mean, you can't feel it through the camera, but just listen to this. And in preparation for consumption, I've swapped out the cup holder for the tray because it holds the salsa perfectly. That's so good. This is why I think it's the best breakfast burrito in Orange County. You look at these ingredients, and they don't seem like anything special. It's egg, hash brown, and in my case, bacon. You can also choose sausage or chorizo, but chorizo is not the start of my day. It's sort of the end. Anyway, but the way they do the eggs, they're a little runny, and the hash browns are super crispy, and there's a lot of them. And so the egg just kind of pours over the hash browns, and the way they commingle, cohabitate, is just blissful. The only problem with this burrito is what I showed you in the beginning. It's massive, and so you either just accept you're not going to finish it and you have it another day, which is not a bad move, or you train. And from a practicality standpoint, it is neither safe nor advisable, especially with the 6-speed, to eat your burrito in motion. So put that away. I've had a moment to digest my food, and now let's digest the exterior styling of the GT3. This car is in white, no cost for that, and it's actually my favorite spec of this car, although I prefer the aesthetically more pleasing 991.2 generation. The 992.2 still looks good though. It's got those hood vents there. You still have a functional trunk, unlike the GT3 RS. This car though is not just in white. It has the Andial 50th Anniversary Edition livery. Andial is an American motorsports company, collaborated with Porsche for decades on customer and professional racing Porsches. I appreciate the heritage, but this color palette reminds me so much of In-N-Out, so much so that I had to take this car to an In-N-Out at night, eat a burger on the wing, film some photos and videos. It was a whole experience, and it was cool, but then waking up the next morning, still looking at all of these very bright colors, I'm not sure I'd want to live with it every day. It does get more attention for this car, so if that's what you're going after, great. Lots of thumbs up, lots of waves. But yeah, I would rather just have it in white. Beyond the livery, this car does have very few exterior options. It gets a matte black finish for the 20-inch front, 21-inch rear wheels, wrapped up in Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires. And here at the back, we have a body color matching GT3 badge, which I would understand on a GT3 Touring where you're trying to be subtle, but here, the giveaway is the wing, so you can't be subtle. So why not just get that in contrasting black? You don't have to pay for the body color matching. I don't understand that. Regardless, it's hard to mess with the back end of the GT3. It's just the business. And here with the 992.2 having those swan neck hinges on top of the wing looks amazing. You've got the center exit exhaust in a black finish and a big old diffuser down low. And I may be in the minority on this one, but I prefer the GT3 with the wing versus the Touring and its little lip. It's a track-focused car. Show it. And though I may not have a racetrack at my disposal, I do want to dabble in the performance. Starting with a real-world 0 to 60. I've got my race box set up here to record. I'm in the track drive mode, and even the manual has launch control. So holding in the clutch, pitting the throttle, letting it go. Down to second. And there's 60 in 3.86 seconds. The engine over the back tires is a cheat code, and it would have been even quicker if I turned off the AC. Yeehaw! But having the engine back there does create a pendulum effect that you must mind in corners. Thankfully, Porsche's engineering is just incredible. And so this car can handle itself and utilize all of that 502 horsepower so effectively. Oh my gosh. As rear-wheel drive cars go, it doesn't get much better than this. The steering is what just consumes you most. For an electric power steering system to have this much clarity through the rack is unbelievable. The way it loads up, the way it talks through the corners, and with that double wishbone front suspension, the way the car just turns into each curve is magnificent. And these helper springs to help it stay connected to the road surface even as it undulates. Even as things get a little light, the tires stay in contact, so you have that much more confidence keeping your foot in it. What a car. And with the gearing, I mean, I can achieve some serious speed while staying in third gear. Going all the way out to that 9,000 RPM red line, hearing that flat six. Oh, it's melodious. Razor sharp car. And it's so much more than just being sharp. There are cars that handle flatly through corners. But the GT3 is engagement. Rowing this 6-speed, which is so much better than the 7-speed in other Porsches, by the way, is such a delight. Rolling your ankle over to blip that throttle, having that perfect pedal placement. I mean, really feeling that flat six motor, you can't help but smile. I mean, stop yourself from cackling while driving because it's a little distracting. You should stay focused. And these standard brakes are amazing. I haven't noticed, I mean, I haven't been out here that long. On a track you would notice, you'd want the carbon ceramics, but out here on a good curvy road, I have not noticed any degradation in the stopping distances. Heat soak doesn't appear to be a problem. They're ventilated well enough. Oh my gosh, the cornering speeds are tremendous. Oh my gosh. Lost my words. Where did they go? You know, yesterday I showed how surprisingly daily drivable this car is, and tomorrow I'm going to test the practicality. But today, you're seeing why the GT cars are just revered. They're exalted. And so the fact that it can do it all is just icing on the cake, because even if it was a horrible daily driver, even if it was infinitely impractical, you'd still buy it to do this. I mean, the car's so good that you could go to the Porsche dealership after having waited 2 years for your car to be built, after having waited a year for allocation, and the dealer salesperson could hand you the keys after taking your check, spit in your face, and you'd thank him because you'd know you were driving home one of the finest cars on the planet. Now let's hear what an actual Porsche owner thinks about this car. I'm gonna go pick up my mom for lunch. Hey Mom.
Hi Miles.
Welcome to the 25 Porsche 911 GT3.
It is great to be here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you as a 993 generation 911 owner. You've got a Carrera 2C.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful red on tan, leather interior, 6-speed manual transmission.
1995.
95. And here we are, 30 years later.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
I know. Isn't that insane?
With another 6-speed 911.
Yep.
A lot has changed though, and this is of course a GT series car, so it's more track focused than your, standard 911.
Right.
But it should feel a little familiar to you, at least. Going out to 9,000 RPM, that's a bit different than your car.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Just a tad.
Just a tad. But yeah,
very impressive.
Yeah, we still got a manual transmission. You know, the steering wheel still looks mostly the same. Of course, the shape of the exterior is the same as well.
Yes, but the electronics, everything is, you know, cutting edge and new.
Yes, right. You've got this infotainment that's a touchscreen, and you know you've got your gauge cluster that's now fully digital, no analog tack in the center.
Right.
I do miss that about your car, even about the previous generation of the GT3. Having that analog tack right there was always really nice. This one, at least, you can reconfigure, so I can change up the way the whole screen looks. Still keeping the tack right there in the center, but changing the information on either side. This is the track-focused one, or the performance driving one that I was using earlier this morning when I was carving up a canyon road, because this has the shift light indicator there. But speaking of, I kind of have an ulterior motive with you in this car, and that is to convince you to buy a GT3 at some point.
Well,
yeah.
It probably would not take much arm twisting. We might need to move a little money around, but
yes. And of course, move cars around, because garage space.
I only have 2 spaces.
But the 993 might have to go. It would be sad.
It would be.
But
it would be.
You've had a lot of great time in that car. I
yes.
mean, does that car get attention like this car gets attention?
I would say it gets attention all the time.
Yeah.
I rarely pull up at a light without seeing usually a man.
Yeah.
Kind of checking me out, giving me the thumbs up.
Yeah.
The sign of approval.
Especially if he sees the manual, he's like, okay, all right, respect.
You know, I grew up in a generation where there were more manual drivers.
Sure, yeah.
And so we all learned. Nowadays, it's an anti-theft device.
Yeah. The Blackwing, that was a deterrent. I never really worried. I'm like, okay, you know, parking in LA, no one's going to know how to drive it.
That's right.
But yeah,
that's right.
Things have changed a little bit, but having the manual is still just as satisfying. Actually, I would argue even more so.
I am very pro manual gear shifting, because I find I drive differently when I'm driving a manual.
More focused?
Very focused. Driving is your first job.
Yeah.
Your first job.
Yep.
Getting a drink of water is your second job. You know, looking at
breathing.
the sights. Yes, you can do that in your spare time.
And in a GT car, because you get so much out of the driving experience, you pay more for it, certainly, but you don't necessarily get more luxury. And that's on par with Porsche relative to other, even German luxury performance manufacturers. The Porsche product is more about the performance than it is about the amenities.
Rightly so.
Sure.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
I think that's why people are buying these cars. They want the performance.
Hopefully.
They certainly want to be comfortable while driving.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're going to be overly concerned or deterred by the fact that it may not have leather on every surface.
I hope, because I do think that in recent years, the Porsche badge has come to stand for a certain status symbol, and I think people buy these cars expecting, okay, well, it has the Porsche badge, so it must be really, really nice.
Sure.
Well, no, it drives really nice, right? It doesn't necessarily have all the luxuries. In this car, it's a $242,000 vehicle as tested before, you know, any markups or anything like that. And, you know, this is injection molding up on the dashboard. It's not leather, and this is metal, but then this is plastic, gloss black.
Yeah, I noticed this piece over
plastic
here was.
on the side, you know.
Right.
The doors are not leather up here either. This is all injection molded. This part's suede, right? But it's just not, the materials aren't incredible. You get what you pay for in the drive.
Look at that tree.
Wow.
That is a freaking unbelievable tree.
That looks like a prehistoric tree.
It does.
That's wild.
But this is, I think, a magnolia. Look
It
at
covers
the
like an
leaves.
entire block.
It's as big as the building.
Yes, we get distracted by just things
Trees.
we see. Well, we're cruising to lunch. I did want to ask you, you know, if you were, because you can daily drive your 993 any day. It's
Sure.
It's perfect for that.
Yes.
I make the case you could daily drive this. Would you, though? Would you daily drive this? Are the seats comfortable enough? Is the ride, you know, compliant enough?
I think so. I don't see any reason why not. I'm already in the habit of parking in the lower 40, you know, for fear of somebody dinging my car.
Sure.
So whether I was driving this or my car or even my Audi, I'm just protective.
Yes. But I mean, you know, how it treats you as a daily driver is kind enough, right?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you were stuck on the 405 for hours and hours, this could get a bit tedious.
Yes, that is a good point. Yeah, it's not the commuter vehicle, not
No.
the long commuter vehicle. Short commute, absolutely.
Yes, and if you were stuck in a 9 to 5 where you were in that traffic morning and evening,
Right, that
I think
gridlock.
after a while that would wear on you.
Certainly. But boy, would you be the talk of the office. Well, we've made it to our lunch spot of the day, the filling station. Food is here. I've got a mound of Greek salad. What do you have?
A tuna salad sandwich with some really good looking fries.
Those do look very good.
Yeah,
I
but-
might have to borrow said fry. That's okay.
Just don't give it back.
Today, I'm going to test the practicality with a Costco run on behalf of the charity Families Forward. I may have overdone it, honestly. For this segment of car to fit this number of goods, we just have to see. I'm going to pop the frunk and, oh yeah, give it a shot. So there's good news and bad news. The good news is that the frunk is actually huge. The bad news is that it's really low down in the GT3. So if you have lower back problems, lifting heavy things down in or pulling them up might aggravate that. I think this is as much as I'm gonna get in the frunk because of the slope of the hood and the bulk of the items I have left. But let's make sure that it does fit. And the good news for loading the rest of the stuff is that in the GT3, you don't have rear seats that could get damaged. You just have extra storage. And for the last thing, that does it. And just to confirm something, yes, my visibility is just as compromised as normal. Actually, the paper towels are still under the level of the wing. Whee! Now, after returning my cart like a responsible oh, come on, you were so close. Gotta do it for you. Anyway, responsible shopper. I can confirm that, astonishingly, the Porsche 911 GT3 is Costco approved. On my way to Families Forward, I can check in on the passing power here on the highway, which, yes, I know, is terrific. So I can get to the lane of my choosing easily and enjoyably. And now, let me just settle into 6th gear and listen to the cabin volume here. Predictably, there is some tire hum, especially on that louder concrete slab to start. Now, not as much on the smoother tarmac. You do still hear the flat 6 churning away. Even at lower RPM, I mean, it's not that low. You only have a 6-speed, so we're chilling at 3,000 RPM at 65. So yes, you do get some noise inside the cabin. If you wanted to have a conversation with a fellow passenger, you'd be raising your voices a little bit, especially if you listened to some music. We've got a BOSE sound system as an upgrade, and wireless Apple CarPlay is standard on the GT3. So let me find my song of choice. Took a sec to populate. Now I've got it, and I'm going to use the physical volume knob to turn that up. It's to be about maybe 65, 70% right there. Hey, this is coming from someone who's not really a fan of BOSE sound systems typically in cars, but that had a really nice range. The mids and highs weren't of the same fidelity as the ultra high-end sound systems you can get in cars, but it really wasn't bad. Maybe it's the acoustics of the 911 cabin, but everything worked pretty well. There was a nice punch of bass, and importantly, all the outside highway noises were blocked out. It's probably worth the upgrade. It's about time to refuel this extended range 22.1 gallon tank, and the GT3 manual is rated at 13 mpg in the city, 18 on the highway, and 15 combined, which is precisely what we have been averaging during my time with the car, and that gives us a fuel range of 333 miles. And at current fuel prices of $4.89 for the required 91 octane gas, it's going to cost $108 to fill this tank, and there isn't capless fueling, so I have to work just a little bit harder. Well, crew, at the beginning of this video, I pondered what it would be like to live with a track-capable car like the Porsche 911 GT3. And after quality time spent behind the wheel, I am quite impressed with its comfort and practicality, even if they don't matter. Yes, the GT3's huge frunk and big cavity behind the front seats easily swallows a Costco run, and the adaptive dampers turn jarring impacts into a merely bumpy ride. And the standard sport bucket seats are both easy to get in and out of and provide comfort for hours. And last but not least, the 6-speed manual is as easy to drive as it is rewarding, but I still say it does not matter, because once you find the right road or track to uncork the GT3's performance ability, this car could be a nightmare to daily drive, and you'd still want to do it. It is just that engaging, just that satisfying to daily drive. Even when you factor in the eye-watering $232,000 starting price. I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed this day in the life, and I will see you again next time.